first stop today for Media Day, we will head on out to Logan, Utah, and bring in now the head coach, the newest head coach of the Aggies, Ryan Odom. Coach, how are things going out in Logan? How's life treating you?
It's going great. Yeah, it's great to be here. Great to be with you guys today. We appreciate you having us on and all the teams, obviously. Exciting day in the Mountain West to get things started. But things are well in Logan. Transition really well and enjoying the guys. We've got a great group of guys here. And the staff and the players have really clicked so far. So the transition has been fun.
Well, this is a reminder that if you have a question for Coach Odom, to please make sure to raise your hand in the queue. Coach, you come to the Aggies from UMBC. What led you to choosing Utah State and feeling like that was your fit?
Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, the relationship with John Hartwell, our athletic director, the first time that we met during the interview process, it was pretty clear that we clicked. And that's what you want. You want to have a partnership with someone that you're going to work for. That's going to help you, continue to grow the program. Obviously the tradition here at Utah State is tremendous. Craig Smith and his staff did an awesome job here the last 3 years during his tenure here, and obviously he's moved on. But it's a true brotherhood here at Utah State. There have been great coaches, throughout the history. There have been NCAA tournaments. There have been huge wins. You talk about the Spectrum and Spectrum Magic, it's alive and well, and we're just thankful and excited to be a part of it.
Once again, if you have a question for Coach Odom, we encourage you to raise your virtual hand. We'll get you in queue. One of those players that I'm sure encouraged in your mind that this could be a good place. You got great players, be Justin Bean. We'll get a chance to talk to him here in a little bit. But the only returning player of the conference averaged 11 plus points, 7 plus rebounds, 1.5 assists, and 1+ steals per game a season ago. What a leader. And you talk about that family atmosphere. He's right at the top.
Yeah, no question. I mean, Justin's been amazing since my arrival here. I remember our first meeting, just chatting with him and just, getting a sense of what Utah State has meant to him. And, I know he didn't, not that he didn't care who the coach was going to be, but I know this place means the world to him and his family. And Utah State's been good to Justin Bean, and Justin Bean obviously has been really good to Utah State. And we're really fortunate to have the opportunity to coach him. He's a great player. Obviously everybody talks about his ability to rebound the basketball and his overall motor, but he's expanded his game. He's a guy that we're going to count on to score the basketball for us and be a leader for our team. And he's certainly shown that so far early this season. And I know he's eager for the challenge of the tough Mountain West and just being competitive.
Yeah, we've enjoyed watching him play over the years. Again, if you have a question, go ahead and get in queue. We're going to start our Q&A session, Coach, with John Tiedel from Hoops HD. John?
Good afternoon, Coach. I was curious in terms of taking over in your first year. I know that your father coached at several different schools. Did he give you any advice about the extra special coaching challenge of starting over at a school?
Yeah, he wanted to make sure that I tried to negotiate earlier game times, so he didn't have to stay up so late out east to watch our games. No, in all seriousness, he did it several times. This is my third time switching jobs and going to a new home. I think the biggest thing you have to do initially when you first take over a job is to get to know your own program and get to know the players within the program. What are their strengths? Where are some areas that you need to really attack from a roster management standpoint in order to kind of make the pieces fit? And, the evaluation process begins right away when you first get there. But at the same time, you don't want your players to feel like they are being evaluated. So there's a balance there. You want them to feel like, there is a level of trust there, and that takes time to build. And so we just spent time with our guys initially right away. Whether it's an individual meeting, going to lunch with one of your guys, or just, spending time obviously on the court as well. All of those opportunities, help you begin to develop a level of trust that you're going to need going forward. And, for us, entering a new conference, we understand that this conference is as well respected as there is in the country. And we understand, what a challenge it is to compete night in and night out in the Mountain West. And, we're excited as a staff to be a part of that. Obviously, Justin and some of his teammates have experienced how competitive it is. And, they've also won championships. Justin has been a part of championship teams and Brock Miller, as well. So, that's an exciting, thing as a coach, to walk into. Generally speaking, you walk into a situation when you're a new coach, where it's a rebuilding situation a lot of times, or they haven't had the success that everybody, had desired. This situation's a lot different. We're walking into a situation where the last 3 years have been tremendous, for Utah State and the players and coaches that were here. And so we're excited about joining that tradition and trying to continue to grow it. And that's the challenge that we're up for and we're excited about.
Another question for you, Coach, coming from the Albuquerque Journal and Jeff Grammer.
Hey, Ryan, I got two for you, actually, and they both kind of touch on things you've already addressed a little bit, but I want to start with the dad question you just got. I'm covering a new coach that certainly is known for his last name as well, and Richard Pitino. Mm-hmm. There's another new coach this year whose dad is well known in these parts, and that's Kevin Kruger. So I'm curious two things. One is, do you ever get tired of being asked questions about your dad? And also, like, how would you in any way advise the other two fellow rookie coaches whose last names and whose dads have kind of been down this path too? Any advice to them, that stuff you've been through along those lines?
Yeah, I mean, I think the short answer to that is I never get tired of answering questions about my dad. He's my father. He's a role model for me. Obviously, I love him to death. He's been a tremendous influence in my life, as has my mom. Both good people, and raised my brother and I, in a very healthy environment and a loving environment. And so I'm appreciative of that. And I try to give that to my guys and my sons as well, my two boys. Growing up in a basketball family it can be very stressful, but it also is really rewarding. Basketball has taken, all of us, to a lot of different places, a lot of different countries. We've met so many people because of the game that we're fortunate enough to be a part of. And we have our fathers to thank for that. But it also can be stressful. You lose a game and it doesn't just impact, the coach that's involved in that game. It impacts everyone. It impacts your wife. It impacts your kids. All three of us were kids, that were raised in a basketball family. So we understand it. We've sat in the crowds and watched, and now the roles are reversed. And so our fathers, even though I know Coach Pitino's father is still coaching again, but I know he probably lives and dies every time, Richard coaches a game, as does my dad and Kevin as well. It's a tough thing. It's harder for them probably to watch us coach than it is for themselves to coach a game. And I think that's a big thing. But advice that I would give, I mean, I obviously wouldn't want to give them any advice, but as a coach's son, I mean, one of the things that my father always told me was just be yourself, and you don't have to be me. I actually didn't ever work for my father, so I wasn't intimately involved with how he ran his program. Obviously, he's a huge influence on my basketball coaching. And it's fun to have him around. He was out here for a week, 2 weeks ago, and was able to be around the guys, before and after practice. And that was really healthy for him to be out here. It was great for the guys to kind of see him out here. He turned 79, while he was out here. And so that was pretty fun, to have he and my mom here for a week out in Logan. But I consider myself blessed to be a coach's son and be raised in a basketball family. And I know those guys do as well.
Thanks. A real quick follow-up on the Justin Bean comment you said earlier. I know you said he's expanding his game. He's a unique type of player, as you well know. where he kind of erases a lot of faults maybe of other players. I know he certainly, the kind of player he is, helped Nimi last year become, one of the better centers that have come through these parts in a long time. So he's the type of player that I know you can just throw out there and he helps everyone else. Do you at all kind of get tempted to just throw him out there and run an offense for the other four guys and knowing Justin's going to fill in the voids? Or are you going to run things for Justin Bean this year?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, that we'll run stuff for Justin. I mean, Justin has earned the right, to have the ball in key times and key situations. But when you run plays for certain players, they have a responsibility to do what's right for the team. And so that's all we coach Justin and his teammates on is making the right play, not only for themselves, but more importantly for our team, and trying to focus on getting the best shot that we can for Utah State. And so sometimes that's him in a situation where he's ISO'd and, he's got the ball and he's got to make the decision, at that point for us. And he's going to be in plenty of those situations, for us. He's earned that right. He's expanded his game. He's worked hard on his jump shot, this summer and off season. And he's shooting the ball really well right now, but he understands who he is as a basketball player too, and what his strengths are. And I think that's one of the cool things, having self-awareness and knowing kind of what makes you a great player, and while continuing to add to your game. And so, he's going to continue to chase down rebounds and play with the high motor that he always has and be the defender that we need him to be. But Justin's about winning. And, his teammates are about that too. And so that's his primary focus, for this upcoming season is how are we going to win games and what is it going to take in order to do that? And we understand it's going to be challenging.
Well, thank you, Jeff, for your question. We'll now go to Sean Harrison from the Herald Journal.
Hey, Coach. Just wanted to ask you a quick question about who's been a pleasant surprise on this team. Has there been somebody that's maybe you do evaluations? Has there been somebody that's been a pleasant surprise so far for you?
Wow. I mean, I'm new to all of them. So, I mean, it's hard to pick one. I mean, all of these guys have really impressed me so far. Brock initially, wasn't healthy to practice in April when I first got here. And then, we kind of eased him back into it over the summer and did a lot of rehab. And now he's full speed and healthy. And he's been that way since we got back to school. And so, it's been fun for me to see him out there and just his leadership ability. The guys really listen to him. He's very competitive, whether it's in, a 5-on-5 drill in practice or whatever. He wants to win. And it's been fun for me to see him, in those moments. We brought two guys out here from UMBC, so they're obviously, I'm very familiar with them. It's been fun for me to watch them interact with, our players here. And that's been really helpful for us in terms of the learning curve, because they've been around our program and understand kind of how we do things. They're both good players. Rylan Jones is back home now, in Logan, and, is a special player. He really is a high IQ player. He's a point guard. He's a coach's player. A guy that is a coach on the floor for us, but at the same time is really competitive. Stephen Ashworth, has moxie. He's a believer first and foremost in himself, but also in our team, and is about as positive a guy as there is. And so he's been fun to coach. I would say Musa Meal, we call him Z here. He surprised us. He didn't get here until August, and we weren't quite sure, how he would, interact and be able to assert himself. And I think he's done really, really well. He's taller than I expected. He's athletic. He's a good basketball player, and I think he's got a really bright future. We'll see how it works for him this year, but been really impressed with him. But there are more guys than that, that I've been impressed with, but, I'll stop at that point.
Coach, you're a popular man. A lot of questions in queue. We'll get to as many as we can in the time that we have allotted here for Coach Odom. Let's go to the San Diego Union Tribune and bring in Mark Ziegler. Mark?
Coach, the 3 coaches that were fired in the league last year. None of them had any prior experience in the league or familiarity. It's a very unique league in terms of travel and altitude and venues. And the coaches that have had success are coaches like Brian Dutcher, Justin Hudson at Fresno State had some success. He came from San Diego State. Steve Alford had been in the league before. Craig Smith had been in the league. Nico Medved at Colorado State been in the league before. Is there any trepidation on your part? I mean, you brought, I think, almost your entire staff that doesn't know the league that well either. And how much of a learning curve do you expect in this league?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always a learning curve. You know, no matter what challenge you take on, certainly there's a learning curve. You know, I've worked at a lot of different conferences, you know, during my career, both as an assistant coach and then also as a head coach. And, you know, I think the first thing you've got to do, there's styles, you know, that exist within leagues. You know, some leagues are faster. Some leagues are slower. Some leagues are more athletic and play older players. I think this is a league where, you know, you've got to have pros on your roster, you know, in order to be one of the top teams in the conference. You know, I think that's been evident, you know, over the course of time within this league. I mean, it's a tremendous league, as you know. There's a ton of history, you know, of great teams, but also great individual players that have gone on to do great things in the NBA. And, you know, I think that's certainly, you know, and there's different ways to find those guys or help those guys. You know, they're guys that, you know, come in as pros, and a lot of those guys are going to, you know, the Power Fives, where it's Kentucky or Kansas or Duke or some of those places where, you know, that before they even play a game, they're an NBA player, you know, in college. And I think our league's a little bit different. They're developed here. And not to say that they're not being developed at those schools, but, you know, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that Zion Williamson was going to be the number 1 pick before he ever played a college game. And I think ours is a little bit different. You know, Kawhi Leonard was developed, you know, Paul George was developed, you know, Sam Merrill, Nemi, obviously 2 guys that we're really proud of here at Utah State were developed in a lot of ways. And so, you know, I think that's where we've got to focus our efforts, you know, and focus on us. And, you know, we worry about each opponent as they come. The great thing for us at Utah State is we don't have to play, you know, every other team on one night. We have to play one team on any given night, and we'll focus on that particular team when it's their turn. And so I'm not really afraid or going to spend much time worrying about, you know, what previous coaches have done or the success that they've had. I'm going to focus on what we're doing here at Utah State and how we operate here. We're a competitive group, and we're going to continue to be.
Thank you, Mark, for your question. Next up, Ajay Salveson from 106.9 The Fan in Logan.
Hey, Coach. I know there was supposed to be a blue-white scrimmage, and rumor has it that it was canceled due to maybe some injuries. I was wondering if you could give us kind of a health status report on your team so far.
Yeah, we're at 11 right now, and we've got a couple of guys that are getting ready to return. And so I felt like since we have a game next week, we have an exhibition next Wednesday, we were better served to focus on our practice today. And so we decided to cancel that. We had a blue-white, and then we had a closed scrimmage with another team last Saturday. And so I think we're in a good place. And fans will be able to see us in the Spectrum next Wednesday against Montana Western.
Coach, we appreciate the time, and we know there are many questions still left in queue, but we got to get to Justin Bean, and we got to get to other coaches and players. We appreciate the interest. We wish you well, Coach Odom, and welcome to the Mountain West, and appreciate your participation, your answers here today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You bet. That's Ryan Odom, the head coach of the Utah State Aggies. We're not done talking Aggies basketball. Please stay in queue as we will get to your questions and we can direct them towards Justin Bean. Justin Bean, of course, the one of the unquestioned leaders of the Aggies, a guy who is a jack of all trades and is a key component, has been a key component of their success here in recent years.
Absolutely. And what a team for Coach Odom to take over. He mentioned it there. This isn't a team where it's a rebuilding process and he has to rebuild a roster. This is a team that brings back some key returners, Justin Bean being one of them. And this is a team that has experienced success the last few years in the Mountain West. So should be an exciting year for the Aggies. And now we'll bring in one of the key players for the Aggies the last couple of seasons. We now head to Logan to catch up with Justin Bean. Justin, how are things going for you?
Good. How are you guys doing? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, this is just a reminder that if you have a question for Justin, please make sure to raise your hand in the queue. Now, Justin, we'll get to the basketball stuff here in a little bit, but I got to ask you, Sam Merrill commented on your Instagram post. He said, Logan's most eligible bachelor is now off the market. You got married this off season. How does it feel to join the married club on the team?
Man, what a journey. It has been a great journey, and I am now a part of that club. So I appreciate Sam. Yeah, he's given me some good advice for sure on not just on the court, but off the court as well. So, yeah, it's been great. We've been married for 2 months, and, her name's Claire, and she's a fruit farmer. So she and her family grew up harvesting apples and peaches and cherries, and so now we're both Aggies, and, it's been really fun to be a part of that crew, so.
Well, what an exciting time for you. We now have a question for you. So we'll go to Jeff Kramer from the Albuquerque Journal.
Hey, Justin, congratulations on the marriage. I do actually have a quick one on NIL, and you've done, did you do an NIL thing with something to do with Bean Burrito or a local restaurant or something?
I did, yeah, with Taco Time, so.
Is that an ongoing thing, or is it a one time over the summer? Or?
Mm-hmm. It is. So yeah, we signed a contract through this whole season, and so it's been fun to do that for them. And obviously, the last name Bean definitely rings a bell in that department. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun to
all right, I'll ask you a basketball one now. Obviously I don't know if you heard me ask your coach a little earlier, but like your game is one that you can kind of get forgotten about sometimes because you play a style that kind of picks up, maybe erases some mistakes of some other teammates and stuff like that. But he does say he's going to use you a lot more. Like the stuff is designed now for Justin Bean a little bit more. How is that role going to expand this year? What is your role that you see, and maybe kind of some of what he was talking about, how it's going to expand? How can you explain that to us?
Sure. Yeah, it's a great question. And obviously my goal and my mindset, every year is to be the best I can be. And so obviously being fortunate enough to be on a couple championship teams in the past has been great. But like Coach said, we're all focused on our task here this year. And for me personally, that means staying on top of everything and making sure I can be that leader that the guys look to in practice and just in everything we do. And so I had a really good off season this summer, worked really hard, and it definitely has been the hardest offseason for me personally in my basketball career. And so I'm really excited to put everything to the test and to, put all that on the line. So I have had a great summer, and it's been good just to develop and increase, my skills in a lot of those areas, and offensively especially. So, but like Coach said, I just want to win games. I want to be back at the top of the Mountain West because that's where I feel like we can be. And so whatever it takes to do that, I'm going to do that. So.
Thank you, Jeff. Our next question for you, Justin, comes from KSL Salt Lake City and Josh Furlong.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yep. I got you.
Awesome. I'm just curious, what stood out to you the most about Coach Odom, and then how's the transition been since he took over?
Yeah, well, it's been a great transition. I've had a few different coaches come in since I've been at Utah State, and each one has definitely been different. But one thing about Coach Odom is that he is very, very well gifted in terms of just his IQ and how he sees the game. And not only that, but just in how he helps the players see the game as well. And so he's not afraid to slow things down, in a practice and really help us see, why we do certain things, why we go over passing for 10, 15 minutes, or why we work on pivots. Just the fundamentals of the game are really important to him. And he's made that, a priority for all of us. And so it's definitely helped each of us increase our game and our level of play. And he always wants us to bring that competitive edge in practice. And so we always practice with purpose and we practice smart. And so that's definitely because of him. So we're glad to have him here.
Yeah, and just a quick follow-up if I can. You guys have a lot of newcomers on this roster. How's the team meshing thus far?
The team's meshing great. We've got a lot of great chemistry on this team, and it's cool because, obviously I played with a lot of international players, and this year we've got about 6 or 7. And so it's been fun just to hear all the different accents and hear about all the different cultures and just be able to grow with those guys and battle each and every day. So each of them brings a unique perspective to our team, and it's been a lot of fun just to hang out and play Mario Kart in the locker room and just have fun with them.
We'll now go to Sean Harrison from the Herald Journal. Sean.
Hey, Justin. Josh kind of stole my question. I was going to ask about the meshing of the team, but also I wanted to ask you, who's the guy that's going to really surprise Aggie fans this year? Who's a guy that maybe fans don't know about, a new guy that you really feel has really come on strong?
Yeah, it's a great question. I can't say great enough things about each guy, each player on the team. Obviously, there's some returners coming back this year that will provide a lot of great depth for us. But as far as ones that fans haven't seen yet, again, Coach mentioned it, but we call him Z, and he's a freshman, but he plays the game, at a high level and a very mature level for his age. And so he sees the game very well, and it's kind of slowing down for him in the last couple of months. He's seeing things a lot better, and he's making the right plays. And he's just one that has a really good charisma and personality about him that fans will love. And also he's just really gifted on the floor. He's always in the gym getting up extra shots. And so I think Aggie fans will love to see what Z has to bring to the table.
Last question for you, Justin. We'll go to Hoops HD and hear from John Title.
Hey, Justin, just wanted to know, 2 years ago, you lost Sam when he left, and this year you lose Nemish. Is it just as simple as playing Mario Kart, or do you guys have to do a lot of work to replace somebody of their caliber?
Absolutely. I mean, you can't replace guys like that for sure. But what you can do is you can learn from the experience and from the leadership that they possessed. And that's something I've tried to take on in that role as a leader and just try and implement those same tactics and those principles that they have. And so just taking each day one at a time, trying to go 1-0 each day is something that we've really focused on. And as long as we do that, I'm really excited for what this team can do. And championship is definitely, in the cards for us. So we're excited to pursue that.